everyone. Welcome back to the Union Pacific Railroad Evanston subdivision. In HO Scale, we are going to hit the road in this review of a number of road kits and products, and going to see how we can put it all together for some pretty cool roads here on the Evanston sub. You see a crossing right there. That's from the Walthers crossing kit, the concrete crossing kit. Make sure you like and subscribe, ring the notification so you don't miss any of this really cool model railroad stuff. So this is a road issue looking at all kinds of different products that you can kind of put together to do some pretty cool roads. Hopefully, at least that's my goal, is to get some roads going. Have a crossing just outside of Evanston that I wanted to work on, and then also some roads at Morgan. This is going to be a two-part review because there's so much to do, and it's going to take a lot, I know. So this is a part one of a two-part, and we start by looking at a package that I got from Lombard Hobbies. Placed the order one day, got the package the next day. It's awesome. And of course, always some great prices and packed really well. And here's what I have. Some Walthers Street Systems. This is the Asphalt street system. And you can kind of see the price there. And these are the Asphalt, because of the roads that I wanted to do in Morgan were asphalt. These are actually the extenders. Those are not the actual beginning kit. I do have one vehicle to go on the roads. It's a UPS tractor for a UPS trailer that I have. Then I also got some of the Walthers modern concrete grade crossing. These were only $10 for each one, and they do a double track. So I got 3 kits, and I'm actually going to be able to do only 2 crossings because the 2 crossings that I'm doing have 3 tracks. But I definitely wanted to try those out and see how well they worked. This has nothing to do with roads, but I knew I needed some ballast too, so I got a couple things of ballast. There's the second one. I got 2 of them. And then I also got, let's see, something else here. Oh yeah, some paint. This is the Woodland Scenics now. This is not Walthers, but Woodland Scenics. This is the paint for their road system. So I'm kind of combining the Walthers road system with the Woodland Scenics road system. And the Woodland Scenics road system includes something called Smooth It, is what you use to actually put the roads down on the layout. And we'll take a look at how that all works together. This is the main kit. Now, the other kit was just some extenders. You had like 10 extenders, and this is the actual kit that also includes the intersection. So you have a intersection section, yeah, that sounds weird. But then also some straight sections. Also, both kits includes the curbing, which I was really interested in because that's always very hard to do. Also got some Woodland Scenics line painting, black and yellow and white. So kind of see how that works. And then the best part, Welch's fruit snacks. All right, so the first thing I wanted to take a look at was the crossing. And I used the BLMA crossing kits in N scale, which basically just consisted of a metal etching or brass etching, whatever it was, to put over on top of whatever road you had going up to the rails. Well, this is something a little bit different, where it has all these different parts that will be, here you have the actual concrete crossing. This is the part that goes up against the rails on the outside of each track, so it's a little bit more narrow. But you can see the concrete forms. Here's for the other side. So they're pretty narrow compared to the one that goes in the middle. I take it back. Those were the ones in the middle. Here's the narrow ones. Sorry about that. So here's the narrow ones that go on the outside of the rails. The ones that we saw previously actually go in between the rails. So these go just straight onto the track. And so you don't have to put the road down of some sort first and then put the metal etching on top of it, which you had to do with the BLMA. Although the BLMA looked pretty cool. But it was kind of difficult to get them at the right height so that it looked realistic in that it was flush with the top of the rails. But then also you wanted to make sure it operated correctly. So it was a little bit problematic, a little bit more difficult to do. Now, one thing that caused some difficulty for what I was doing here is that these kits are made for straight track, and I wanted to do a curve. And I first thought I would just cut each one up into little sections and then have a curve that way. You can kind of see I have some cut there on the right. But I didn't like the way it looked when I cut them up. I think it would have worked, but I wasn't really... didn't think I was going to be happy with it, so I thought I'm going to have to figure out a way to get this straight section to fit into this curve. Now, it's not a very sharp curve. I wouldn't recommend doing this for like a 28 or even a 32-inch radius curve. It definitely, this is like more like maybe close to 50 inches or so. And we just kind of take a look at how it goes over these. And I had to do a little fiddling with it. One thing I would recommend that caused the main problems when I did it, I had to kind of glue them down and take them off and glue them back down again, is I think these are designed to be done before you ballast. So it didn't really go down quite as flush as it should have been. So I took them off and just did a really good job of making sure I removed every bit of ballast off of the top of the rails. Excuse me, on top of the ties. So every bit of ballast has to be removed from the top of the ties in order for these pieces to go down flat. Now, as far as curving it in there, I thought about actually just kind of curving it and having, you can see what kind of a difference there is between a straight section and the curve I'm working with. Not a real sharp curve, but I thought I would just, kind of force it to be into the shape of the curve and glue it down. But I thought that if I did that, that stress on the glue eventually would come off. Now, I was able to, and I'm only using one hand here, but when I used both hands, I was able to actually curve it to fit this curve, but to actually glue it in that position and have it hold, I just figured that was not going to work. So I took it up to my stove and put it over a flame. I have a gas stove, and put it over a flame, and before it melted, but while it was still soft, I just kind of gently put a curve into it and kind of had to heat it section by section and curve each section. I didn't need to get it exactly at the same curve that I had on the layout, but just enough so that when I glued it down, there wasn't going to be a lot of pressure on it. Now, one thing that was very helpful, I definitely recommend this if you are doing this kit, is to get some strip styrene, and this is a perfect fit, 0.125 width, and that fits just perfectly in between the rails and the middle section. And then so that was really great for holding it in place while the glue dried, and I just used super glue, and it worked out real well. Now the narrower ones on the outside of the rails, I just glued those on, there was not any problem to bend them, since they're narrower pieces of plastic. There was no resistance to be glued on in the curved section. So here you can kind of see how it all kind of fits together. Now I decided not to use the rest of the kit for the aprons and the roads coming off of these crossings. This is all designed to work with their road system, but I decided for this small crossing here that I would just use then the road system from Woodland Scenics to actually continue the road in between the crossings and then to the edge of the layout. And we'll include that in part 2. So this is kind of how it looks now. Everything's operating correctly. You can kind of see where it's located. Down there is the Evanston yard. That's the east entrance into the yard. So this is in Evanston, just on the east end of town. I'm going to eventually put a photo backdrop over this one here that's going to have a streak going off of there, so hopefully it'll look cool. So I'm going to have the rest of that road, putting in the Woodland Scenics roads and striping and all that stuff in part 2, so look forward to that. Then I also looked at this asphalt street and road kit, and this is pretty cool because it includes the intersection. It includes I think 18 inches of roadway. There's like 10 sections of straight, which comes out to 17 inches. And then you have the intersection itself, and then all the curbing that goes along with it. And so I thought that was really interested in this. On my N-scale layout, I always use the Woodland Scenics Smooth It and their paving tape and everything, which worked out real well. One thing I liked about this is that it included the curbs. So I was kind of curious to see if we could get that to look as realistic as possible. And then I also like the fact that it had a crown for the road. So the way they have this design, here you can see how the sections fit together. And the way this is designed is that the plastic that holds the two sections together also then acts as the crown, or to provide a crown on the road. And by crown on the road, it's the natural, it's not really natural, it's a built-in curvature of the road for water drainage, so that it curves from the top of from the middle of the road, curves downward to the edges of the road, and so for proper drainage. These are the sections for the intersection. Yeah, looking at this, trying to figure out how it's all going to fit together. There's another intersection one. And another intersection one. This was like $16, I think. And then the extension ones was another $15 or so. It's like a couple dollars more for the full kit. Here's the sidewalk parts. And it's pretty cool the way they have this design to include the curb. So you have not just the sidewalk, but then you also have the curbs that look pretty cool. Also have like manhole covers and drains and some fire hydrants as well. I haven't looked at those too much. They even have some of the curbs, you see they have driveways there in case you have a section for a driveway. So here's how they work. You can kind of see the crown here of this. You can see where they have that plastic piece down the middle that holds it together, and then it kind of goes down lower to the side. So it's pretty cool. And I built this overpass with the idea, of having this road system. So I built it the proper width to be able to have the road and the sidewalks. So here's this is one full extension. So this is what you get for 15 bucks. 10 sections, but they're one for each side, so it's like 17 inches long. But it does include, not only do you get that, you also get the sidewalks to go with it, and along with the curbs. And you can see how the curbing kind of fits onto there. And then I also have the intersection put together. Intersection is a little different in that the plastic pieces kind of fit together in the middle there. Now these come in black, which is, I guess, what you would expect for asphalt, but usually asphalt is only black for a few weeks after they first build it, and then it fades into gray. So I am going to be painting these. Now, one thing I did to get these to fit into the scenery, I used my Lombard Hobbies straight edge and just cut from the width of the bridge straight down the road so that the road would fit in there. And then I did the other side. I didn't really measure to make sure this was perfectly straight or anything. It wasn't really too difficult to get it to be straight enough so that it visually looks good. The straight edge definitely came in handy though to make sure that the cut was in fact straight. What's kind of nice about this system is that you don't have to be too concerned about the width being exactly the width of the kit, because you have the width of the road and then the sidewalk, and it doesn't fit in one spot. It can actually slide back and forth, so you can make a wider or a narrower road depending on where you put the sidewalk. So I just needed to have it wider than the road and not so wide that the sidewalks couldn't, cover both the plywood and the road kit. Right. Removing some of the beautiful scenery that I put in very recently. Had to make sure I get all the plaster gauze strings cut. There you go. Doesn't have to be perfectly smooth, just need to get as much off as possible. Mainly so that you can get a good surface to glue onto, because this will need to be glued down eventually. Okay, so this is how it looks. I also did the back side. Now, I didn't actually glue the pieces together. That's right up against the backdrop there. Because if I did glue it, I wouldn't be able to get it back out of there again. As you can see, it doesn't match color-wise with the picture and the photo backdrop. Okay, then, as I said, you just slide the sidewalks on there. And again, you can slide to make it narrower or shorter. Or I should say wider or narrower. So, very easy to make everything fit. Now, one thing that it definitely needs is some paint. So I would not put this on my layout right out of the box. Definitely looks better than plywood. So an improvement in that way, but it is just too black. And then you can see the lines. That's one thing that's a little bit of a drawback for this kit, is that you have the lines. If you do the concrete system, the lines would actually look pretty good. But with being asphalt, they do not look very prototypical. Here you can see how everything kind of fits together. Again, the lines just aren't quite realistic. And then here's the curbs and how they fit together. So there is some flexibility as far as how wide you want the road to be or where everything's going to fit together. And so altogether, I have not only the road put together, or the original kit, but I also have the extension kit put together also. So these are, I bought the kit and then the one set of extenders, and this is how much I was able to do with it. I had to cut out this part of the scenery as well. And then here you have the two pieces together. Again, I have not glued the two sections together yet because would not be able to get it out for painting and so forth if I did, but definitely get an idea where it all fits together. Now the way it works is because of the cross street being a little bit narrower, the sidewalks were a little bit short there. So this road here is a little bit narrower than the other one. This is how it looks. Alright, in part 2 we'll take a look at painting. Getting the road painted, trying to get enough paint on there to hide the lines, and then also get some actual lines put on the roads, as well as gutters and so forth, and then also look at putting roads in between the crossings using the Woodland Scenics Smooth It. So hopefully get all these roads finished up so that they look great. Stay tuned for that. We'll have that out probably next week sometime. Thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned for more updates. Take care, everybody.